And I'm very delighted and happy to give you some insights today about not only how social networking works in Switzerland, but in particular, how you may use social media and social selling in regards to your business success. This means that we will tackle a few topics today. And of course, the main topic, the overlying topic, will be professional branding and social selling and how to make use of social media in a very particular way. So in some cases, I will refer to Switzerland in particular, but as we are a very international connected country, of course, and being myself very long abroad, I will also include some facts and figures from our country neighbors, meaning Germany, Austria, and France and Italy, of course. And let me just say that when it comes to social media and social selling, the art of selling something, it's mainly just like a sip of coffee. And me, myself, being an espresso aficionado, I try to bring across the point today that it's a long-term game and you may start sip by sip, just start listening, just commenting, connecting, interacting, and building trust in the long way. Because when it comes to all those things on the digital platform, social media, it's mainly about not personal branding, but professional branding. And you should come across, especially when it comes to Switzerland, not because of the business attire we heard before, because it's quite smart casual, but you should build up a professional brand that people trust and not only talk about yourself and what you may bring to the table and talk about your benefits, but mainly on how you may support other people, that you can connect with them and maybe share some insight that can be helpful for them along the way and show your competence as well. As you've just heard before, my name is Roger, not Roger, and I'm the same age as Mr. Federer, and we build digital business models. Being myself in the private equity field for quite some time, I started my own company 10 years ago. I'm a lecturer. I consult business in the B2B area, internationally, but also nationally. And we manage among 80 websites, over 50 social media presences on LinkedIn alone. So coming from that, my goal today, as I briefly introduced in the beginning, is that you understand how you can use social media and professional branding and you can connect the dots. Because I believe that once you know what you're doing and you have confidence in your actions, you may have fun and trust along the way, and you can start moving something quite in particular. And ourselves, we use LinkedIn nowadays, especially to generate business. As you can see here, 27% from our business that converts on our website, we're talking about conversions here, is coming from LinkedIn alone. And I can assure you, you don't need to spend a lot of time on LinkedIn. You don't even need to have special products for that, because I have 3 good news to start first. Number one, you don't need any premium product. Of course, there are some premium products that make quite sense, such as the LinkedIn Sales Navigator, but this may cost between 60 to 100 euros a month, and you don't need to start. You don't need any premium additional products. You can use all the functionality. You can build up a business page. You can build a professional brand. You can do whatever you want on LinkedIn without paying a dime or any advertising money to it, even though it's even better. And you don't even need to have a lot of time, because it's not about spending time on those platforms, about consistency. You will see in the presentation later on that 15 minutes is already enough to bring across a routine and to basically share whatever we want and connect with potential business partners and prospects. And number 3, we do appreciate English. And it's mainly because, as you've heard before, we do speak a lot of languages here in Switzerland, but also if we talk about LinkedIn in particular, which has over 830 million members alone in the world, if you go down and you narrow it down to Switzerland, the people that have an account in English, which means that they speak English, is 3.7 million. And the people that speak German, have the account in German, is 1.9 million. And that basically gives you an indication on how many people you may reach over LinkedIn in Switzerland alone. So let me just cover that, what we're going to talk about the next roughly 50 minutes. I will try to speed up a little bit so we save some time. I will talk to you about the general moment of attention, what you need to know when it comes to social media and LinkedIn in particular, how you might be helpful within the next 48 hours, because that's important, how repetition is remembering, and how you can come up with a content routine so you can get out and basically attract potential customers, and how you can do some content creation for multiplication along the way. And while I do that, not only please use the chat if any questions, but you may also use your smartphone. So if you want to take pictures, or if you want to check something, maybe you have installed the LinkedIn app already, or you want to check something else on social media, feel free to do so. And anything I show you in the next few minutes, all the links and everything that might be at help for you, you will not get all the slides, in particular, because mainly that's storytelling, but I put together a presentation with the main topics and the main slides, including all the links. On top of it, you get all the 30 tips I'm sharing with you in the next few minutes on one slide as well. So this will be provided to you in the end so that you can start with the overall use of LinkedIn quite successfully and quite directly without losing any time. So you may note down all the links, but they will be provided to you in the end anyway. So let me just start. Let me just start to give you a little bit of a digital reality check, because what you see here is a picture from the Lake of Zurich, not the Lake of Geneva, as we learned, the Lac Le Mans, but this is the Lake of Zurich, and you see a lot of people basically being very digitally involved. And Switzerland is a quite digital and social society when it comes to digital technology. To just give you some insights on that. So when we talk about Swiss people today, they're using 4 to 5 social media platforms daily and in frequent use. Overall, in total, I've heard we have over 8 million people in Switzerland. 7.1 million people are using social media daily. And this is equal to 81%, almost 82% of the total population. Let me be clear, there's a lot of social media being used out there, and LinkedIn, among others, is one of the top being used. What are the top being used? Well, I can show you. It's basically WhatsApp, Facebook, Instagram, the messenger of Facebook, followed by LinkedIn, Pinterest, and TikTok. Yes, even TikTok can be used for social selling and for prospecting. I will show you that just in a second, because while you may use LinkedIn right now, which is a very professional network, of course, and it can reach out to your prospect quite easily, don't underestimate the potential and the power of video. As you can see here, 2 screenshots on the left side, you see a Google search from my hashtag Frag Roger, which is German for Ask Roger. And you see there on LinkedIn alone, I reach 1.3 million people. I actually needed 2 years for that. On the right side, you see LinkedIn, where I have an annual reach of 1.2 million people. I needed since 2007 for this. So just to give you some insights on what might be useful. But as you can see, you don't need a lot of, let's say, time or let's say routine to reach those numbers. And let me just go back to Switzerland overall. Of course, when we talk about the use of social media, let me just say that the average usage group of those platforms is between 25 and 45. On each and every platform nowadays, the biggest groups are 25 to 45. We're talking TikTok, we're talking LinkedIn, we're talking Instagram. This has been basically narrowed down during the last 2 to 3 years during the pandemic, and you reach everybody you basically want over social media. But let me also be clear that in the end, Swiss people in particular, they will research you, they will Google you. This means that we know that nowadays people are using 40 times a day the Google engine, the search engine. And what's basically a little bit, let's say on the downside, of course, most people don't remember what I've looked for. 85% of the people that are researching something research the same thing between 7 to 30 days. But let me just be very clear that people research you over Google. They will see if you're legit. They will look for some trust signals. And of course, if they then find your LinkedIn presence and hopefully your company page, they will reach out to you in the end. But we're talking here about a society that basically is using the social media and the digital platforms quite extensively. We're talking 65 hours a week in Central Europe, Germany, Switzerland, and Austria, where people are on their phone using it for research purposes and reaching out, communicating, looking for inspiration and for information. And they're doing that basically 80% of the time over their smartphone. And that's important to know, because as you can imagine, if people are using their smartphone quite extensively, this has an impact to their perceivance of information and how they might reach out to you, how you can reply to them. And maybe let's see if you're still hearing and seeing me here while I'm talking and what you think. how many times do we touch our smartphone throughout the day? So if you think that basically one day has 1,440 minutes, we talk 24 hours, and you get some hours of sleep, hopefully. As you've heard, we don't work all the time, but let's say we are 1,000 minutes, we are awake during the day. You will feel free to use the chat and type in how many times do we touch our smartphone. Let me see if you hear me or see me, or if you are quite interactive when it comes to that, because I'm curious what you think. Because as you might see in a few minutes just from now, is that we are using our phone quite extensively. And thank you for those who are already using the chat and typing in something from that. Basically, what we see here now is the same thing that we experience in social media as well. So one person is talking, one person is interacting, the rest is listening. I will get back to that in a second, because that's your biggest opportunity, by the way. Because let me just state that when we talk about touching a smartphone, it's not 250, it's not 350, it's over 2,600 times. If you belong to a heavy user using your smartphone more than 4 hours a day, we're talking 5,400 touches. Let me be clear, we're not talking about typing, we're not talking about swiping, we're talking about getting your phone out and using it for business purpose, but also for personal use. And 50% of the time, this is not attentive. This means that people are just checking the phone, seeing notifications, seeing that that's a new email coming in. And that's why already before said, you get the best out of it when you reach people on the platform. And for example, if you reach out to them over LinkedIn, because once they're on LinkedIn, especially in social media, they're more attentive to this particular use case and not to the rest of it. But also let me show you that what happens when people are using their smartphone throughout the day, because on the right side, you see the usage and the touches accumulated throughout the day. And if they get up in the mornings, these people that love to, let's say, snooze once or twice, but then they get up and then they check their news, they check their email, they check their social media, first Instagram, then Facebook, because it's the biggest birthday calendar. Then they go on LinkedIn and they research what's happening on there. They may be searching some more emails, and then they go to work. We do love breaks. We have a special word for breaks. It's called snoonie, which means basically like the little break at 9. Then we're using the phone again, checking social media, using it for communication, for feedback, for interaction. We do some work, of course, being quite productive. But then at lunch, you will see a lot of people using the smartphone again and touching it and using it, communicating, talking to their friends, family, loved ones, and so on and so forth. Then after the break, there's always this cultural get together for coffee, where you basically don't use your phone, as you can see here, but you talk over coffee. We love coffee with cream, or we love espresso, of course. And then we do some chit chat. But then let's go back to work. We're using the phone for work, of course, being a little bit productive before that. And then we're constantly on the phone, basically just for exercises, for listening to music, maybe checking some news, doing some, let's say, recipes for cooking. We're using it for games with our kids. We're watching TV on the side. We're using it for some emails, and then back again, we're using LinkedIn again just before we go to bed. We say good night, honey, and then at morning at 1, we are just ending up on YouTube and seeing this video we all want to watch. And let me just say that this is basically the society that you see here, not only in Switzerland, by the way, but also in our surrounding countries and the neighbors. And this leads to some effects that are quite important when we talk about digital communication and when you want to reach those people, because it leads to a few effects out there if you want to use social media in particular and want to bring across your point. Because we are living in a society where we have very focused attention and a very low patience. And of course, we have a very selective amnesia, meaning we forget everything quite fast. And let me just emphasize on those points real quick, because when we talk today, if you want to reach people out there, we're talking that everyone is always online at the same time. And let me just compare to you 2 figures. This is 2020. We're talking now Western Europe, Switzerland, Germany, France, Italy, but also, of course, the surrounding countries. This was 2020. The darker the color, the more active those are on social media. And let me just compare it to 2022. It looks like this. And if you narrow it down to the social networks itself, especially when it comes to LinkedIn, you see that it has also changed quite a lot. More and more people are online on LinkedIn. And basically it's from 7 to 7, Monday to Friday. Maybe on Friday it stops a little bit after 2 p.m. And this is your biggest opportunity, because people are basically online all the time, especially on LinkedIn, and you can reach them quite extensively. But let me be clear that out of this 124 million users worldwide daily usage, and you've seen before, it's about 3 million users on LinkedIn in Switzerland. Out of those people, and we're talking quite a lot of people, only 0.32% have been posting, sharing something in the last 7 days. That's 3 out of 1,000 people. And this means that even though many people are online and are using the platform quite extensively, they're not really active. If you open up LinkedIn, however, you will see there's a lot of people that are repeatedly showing up. But if you're not sharing something at least once or twice a week, you might be forgotten quite fast. This is basically due to the second and third effect, which is basically saying that we have less and less patience, especially in a very, let's say, impulse-driven and instant gratification society. Nowadays, people, when they're using digital platforms, they have basically like 8 seconds of patience. In this 8 seconds of patience, we're talking basically the same thing as the memory of a goldfish, which is not quite true, but let's just use as a reference. Out of this 8 seconds, we give basically 2 seconds to load a website, 2 seconds for orientation, and 3 seconds to read and understand what's out there. This leaves basically 8 minus 2 minus 2 minus 3, meaning just 1 second for people for an emotional decision. Meaning within 1 second, people decide while they're scrolling through social media, and in particular LinkedIn, they think, not they decide based on a gut feeling, is this something that might be helpful for me or not? Within the next 24 to 48 hours. We have a very impulse-driven and very decision-driven society, and we want to basically figure out, is this something I can use now from today until tomorrow evening, and then a new week starts and they might have forgotten you. That's, by the way, the reason why, for example, if you share something on LinkedIn, on social media in particular, if you're using a vertical format, it would always work better, because I hope you do see my screen and my face, because people are using a smartphone quite extensively, and a vertical image, it covers basically everything that you see. It also works quite well if you're using, for example, slideshows or interactive elements such as surveys or videos, because they're interactive and people start touching the phone all the time, and this works quite well as well. But let me be clear as well, while using all those things, we are quite forgetful. We do know that nowadays, if people say something because it's an information overload, people are forgetting quite a lot and quite fast. There's this very famous forgetting curve by this German gentleman here, Mr. Ebbinghaus. And Mr. Ebbinghaus basically figured out that we have forgotten everything within 20 minutes, 50% is forgotten. Within 24 hours, 70% is gone. And not even 30 days for 90% of the information that I've received has been forgotten. There's one little hitch to this graph here, because Mr. Ebbinghaus conducted this study in 1885. And it's still valid today, of course, even though society has changed from 1885 top left to 1985 bottom right, or 2015 bottom left and 1915 top right. The forgetfulness of people has increased, especially because you're using 4 to 5 social medias a day. We're using Google 40 times. We're using it quite extensively. The forgetting curve moves left. We forget quite fast. We forget quite a lot. And this means that repetition is key. And again, we forget because we can, because there's Google. And if you're using social media in particular, just always keep in mind that you have to be quite to the point, quite precise, quite short, but give value that people do not find on Google. Because as soon as they go on Google, they will be just basically distracted very fast. So do not post any products or services or any links that lead outside of the platform, because it's better to gather the attention, be helpful, interactive, and present. And with that, you will get the people's attention, of course, the people's love in the long run. Because if we talk about social media nowadays, it's basically to stand out within a second or two. And don't be sad if people forget you, because every day there's a new chance. As you've heard before, only 3 out of 1,000 people are sharing something once a week. And what does that have to do with LinkedIn in particular? Well, LinkedIn is a people's business network. We're talking people to people. Of course, you can use a company page and you can go out of your brand and your logo, but people don't care. We're a society where we really have to trust people. The handshake or the fist bump or the high five is quite important today. And if you see people, if you talk to people, negotiate with people, they will give you a handshake, a firm handshake, of course, if it's allowed, and they will just basically confine your trust in them. And how you do that on LinkedIn and social media in particular? Well, you're using your face and using your name. And while you do that, people will start to remember you throughout your professional brand, hopefully, that you will be somebody who's providing helpful and interactive and immersive immediate content. And you might look now to your smartphone and check something on LinkedIn in particular. Because if you open up LinkedIn right now, you will see something, you'll realize something that is happening, and I will go over to LinkedIn Live to just make my point and share this with you. Because if you watch closely, if you see what's happening, and let me just annotate my screen in a red color here, maybe check out what's happening above every of these postings. So you see more and more, if you scroll down, this one is a promotion, by the way. Christina's posting something directly, but the next again, I see because Christoph is reacting to Lawrence, who has posted something. And then again, Marketa is liking what Manuela is posting here. And then here, Abdullah and Thomas are reacting to Universal Job. Heidi is posting something on her own. And then again, Antonella is reacting to Mustafa. Daniel's posting something on his own. And the more you go down, you will see that people are reacting to things, and that's why you see it. So in particular, when we talk about using LinkedIn, and if you want to use it for your business purpose, please note that, like I said before, only 3 out of 1,000 people are posting something, which is not enough. So the algorithm has to use the relationship and, of course, the interaction of people to basically feed the feed. And this means that in the beginning, if you want to get our attention, if you want to reach out to people, do not cold email them. Do not just start posting, start interacting. Because it's important to understand that 3 out of 4 postings on LinkedIn you only see because other people are reacting to it. And that's the purpose of the platform, because LinkedIn basically said back in 2004, we want you to find and contact the people you need through the people you already trust. And the best way to be introduced in a digital society and in this market in particular is through other people and through your interaction. And this means that if you start building your network slowly but surely, very slowly, and just interacting with the people, you will get to the result that people start noticing you. And then you start commenting, and through interaction and commenting, basically what happens is that people see your face more and more, and the more people see your face, of course, the more the trust will be built. So this means basically, like I said in the beginning, if you want to make use of this platform, the very first thing you have to remember is that basically sip by sip, as the social espresso says, just listen and then start interacting, start commenting, and people will start noticing you. But of course, there's more to it. There's more to it what you can make use of it. And I just try to make this point to show you that it's still a very, very, very big potential out there if you just start understanding that you have to stand out, being vertical, being animated, being thankful and grateful and informative, being helpful, and being repetitive in terms of interact with the people, so people start seeing more and more and more. This means that basically, if you go out and if you start using LinkedIn and do this interaction, you start liking, you start commenting, you will be noticed. And the statistics, by the way, is on your side, because only 1% up to maximum 2% of the people who scroll through the feed will interact. So this is even a double as high as a chance, because as you have maybe noticed, if you talk to some Swiss people, we're quite shy. We don't like to show our faces. We don't want to basically be seen, but this is your opportunity. So just start commenting as you see here, type in, post, reply, be interactive, and just be consistent in your interaction, okay? If you do that, you will have an impact. And the great thing about it is basically that if you want to get out and create an impact, of course, you need to understand that not a lot of people are doing it. Even though there's a lot of things you could do, you could start basically with a post, and you could start with a survey, and it's quite easy because people don't do it. But if you want to be seen, if you want to be noticed, you have to understand that basically the best way to stand out is to start with a question. People love questions. And people love questions because it ignites and it starts a conversation. And if you are curious and you start questioning, let's say you ask a question like, who can help me? Or you can start a question on how does it work? Or have you experienced this? Or what was it to your experience? Or how can you basically make sense out of certain things? If you then start writing about this, people will like that. They will start interacting with you. And it's a great door opener and great icebreaker. So if you use this and if you start with questions, you just have to remember that you have to, once you're posting, you have to use paragraphs. And that's due to the reason that, let me switch over to LinkedIn again here. If you're using paragraphs, people will start to be curious because, as you can see here, I'll just use my tool again here. So you see Simon Fabio reacted to Toygar's posting here. And you see something is a little bit off here because there's this little thing, see more. And this see more only arrives if you start using paragraphs, because then people have to click on it and they see more. This is in German because he's posting in German here, but nevertheless, you see he's using paragraphs. He's using paragraphs and it's quite an extensive post, but it doesn't matter. As you can see here, there's 193 people reacting to it and 133 comments being out of it. So this is basically just due to the fact that he has asked a very good question and people are starting interacting it. And because more and more people are interacting on it, basically what I said before, it's a chain reaction and there's more and more coming to it. So what he basically talked here is basically is asked like, how can I basically talk about the concept of salary transparency and is there anything I can do? And people start reacting to it, right? Which is great because this basically means that people are interested in the conversation. And as I said before, be interactive, be helpful, and people notice you. But maybe you ask yourself, okay, how do I find interesting questions? Well, there's a tool out there, and I will just show you two tools that you might use for your own purpose and maybe for your own preference. There's a tool out there which gives you the idea on what is asked out there, what questions might be helpful for you. The tool, as I'm presenting it to you now, is called Also Asked. This comes from the Google term people also asked. And the great thing about it basically is that if you're using Also Asked, you can narrow it down not only to the country, but also the language, and you will figure out what people want to know. And let me just show you basically what people want to know on a live scenario. So if I switch over here to this platform called alsoask.com, it's free to use 3 times a day, and then you have to wait 24 hours, but it doesn't matter. You can use here English, Switzerland, and maybe you want to know what people want to know about something. Let's say we talk about the topic sustainability, quite the important topic nowadays. And we click on this search, it will show us the questions that people are asking in Switzerland, in particular when it comes to sustainability. It will show us basically which questions you may use to introduce or to start a conversation. So there's questions like, why do we need sustainability? Or how can sustainability be achieved? You can also talk about, for example, why is sustainability important in business? How do we achieve it? How does it help the environment? What are the benefits? How do you maintain it? Are there some factors? What a strategy? So this gives you ideas on what to basically post and how to start from this. But I do understand, of course, if you're using this, maybe it's not always that easy to basically start from scratch to do something like that, because of course, once you understand what the questions are and you want to talk about it, meaning that if you want to use it, you might also want to add some sense to it and some content to it. And of course, if you're using this, somebody or something has to write some text to it and some text that works, right? And let me show you a second tool for that, because this tool here gives you 3 times a day the idea of what to talk about. And as heard before, talking is very important. And the next tool I'm showing to you basically writes those content, this text for you. We're talking about artificial intelligence. This is a German solution here. It's working quite well in quite a few languages. There's more and more coming. Of course, there's many other tools out there, but let me just show you the potential that you basically can use. This tool I'm showing you today is NeuroFlash. The other one was also asked, as I said before. And with NeuroFlash, basically, you can start for free with 2,000 words to start from. And the great thing about it is basically that if you want to have more, it's 29 euros a month, then you have like 20,000 words a month. But let me just show you a real life example, okay? So I'm logging here in the screencast. I'm starting a document. As you can see on the very top here, I can choose some languages. Slovenian is not on it yet, but there's English, German, French, Italian, whatever you want. You can even use it for contact requests or for posting from LinkedIn. But in this case, I show you a bigger text and basically what this solution is capable of. So I use this platform. This is a real life screencast here, how to build business relations. And what the tool does now basically is it goes out, it educates himself and gets some good questions out of there, some good statements. And based on these statements, it creates an outline, meaning basically what can I talk about? You can use this outline to either create a bigger post or bigger social media impact, or you can use one paragraph at a time. The great thing here is while I'm talking, this solution basically needs not more time than sipping a sip of an espresso, like 12 to 15 seconds. You see here, this text has been created. Let me be very clear again. This text here is not copyright infringement. This tool basically has educated itself through to artificial intelligence, it has written a new text, and it hasn't copied anything. It just has read it and it has educated itself. Out of 2.3 million pages, as you can see on the very top, within 1 second, it has basically created this text. And what you do now is basically use this briefing again, and you add it to the briefing on the right side. You ask the tool to basically write the next paragraph, the next postings. And the great thing about it is it doesn't take a lot of time, as you can see here, because here's the new text. You may change it a little bit, you may add a little bit to it, you may make it on your own and maybe add some personal touch to it, but this basically is it. And that's a great thing about social media and LinkedIn, as I said just before. There's tools out there that you can use for your advantage. Not many people are using it. Only 3 out of 1,000 people are posting something once a week. Only 1% of the people are interacting to it. Nevertheless, we have over 3 million people using in Switzerland and 124 millions a day worldwide. And the reason people don't do it is basically they say, because I don't have an idea. Now you have the idea. Then people say, I cannot write. Now you can write. And then they say, well, I don't have time. And I say, well, there's not a tool for that, because there's this tool called Buffer. And basically what it does for free, it allows you to plan your social media postings ahead of time. This means that basically you log in, you create a free account. Again, I'm not affiliated to any of these solutions here, but I'm using them quite often, quite frequently. It allows you to basically plan your posting. You can plan it maybe on a Friday evening or a Monday morning for the whole week, for the whole month. You just go to schedule post. You say, okay, the best time to post is between Monday to Friday, 7 to 12 p.m. I would use, let's say, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. Then you reach the most people. You plan it, you put it out, and basically what it does, it creates an advantage because you are ahead of the curve. Because again, if you have only 3 out of 1,000 people creating something, this means that 99.6% of the people are listening to you. And it's important that you put out something that is helpful and you use those kinds of technology to basically get seen, because what people then will notice is that they will notice you in a helpful way, helpful content, and not in the way, as I've seen it quite extensively lately, when people are just copy pasting the very same thing. So what's happening here, you see like this has gone viral, like reality versus LinkedIn, and everybody is posting on it. And this is just tiring. Be more creative. Be helpful, share something you know, share something that people might think useful. And of course, use some tricks to it. Like I said before, some portrait images. If you show yourself at work, at travel, with your friends in the business environment, if you show some multiple images, if you create a short movie, what you're doing and what way basically is helpful to you, or questions you want to ask, if you use colors, large fonts and subtitles, people will notice you. And the more vertical, the more informative, the more behind the scene, the more extensive you share something, the more people will interact to you. And of course, never underestimate the power of a smile. So if you scroll through LinkedIn yourself nowadays, basically what happens is that you will see a lot of selfies, people smiling. They're using it basically to create this sense of closeness, this sense of relations, and that's great. Because what it does, basically, it's bringing your business to the next level. And as I said before, you don't need a lot of time. You basically just need to follow 5 steps here, understanding people have 1 second of attention, they're scrolling on a vertical medium. You need to be helpful because then it will be noticed. You need to be repetitive in terms of like long-term oriented and create an interaction so people see you. You need to understand that people are not posting enough, but now you have 3 tools that help you to be posting and to be quite present at this kind of things. And if you content create everything, the only thing you need is 15 minutes a day. You need 15 minutes a day, let's say 2 to 3 times a week. And what you do, basically, you scroll through your feed and you interact, you like and you comment what you love to see. But also on the other hand, you can basically tell the algorithm what you don't like. Meaning we call this like a feed cleanup or feed hygiene. If you click on the top right 3 dots, you can basically always say, do not follow, do not show or complain. And then the algorithm will learn. Because basically what you want is you want to have a clean feed. You want to recommend others and you want to interact on content that is helpful to you, meaning being thankful and getting some traction to it. And like I said, 15 minutes is enough. 15 minutes to basically network or unfollow, to like or comment something in the network. And then if you want to be very, very interactive, you can still use the tools I showed you and create content. And let me just show you live how I'm doing it when I'm, for example, using LinkedIn myself, and I switch over to it. And it doesn't take even a minute or 2 to show you. So like I said before, using vertical content, using an image of yourself. And the very first image I see is the one from Isabel. And she's showing herself at work. And she's talking about something. And you see here, she's using paragraphs. You don't even need to translate right now. She's using it and 3 comments already. And if I say, I support that and I wish her best of luck, like viel Erfolg in German, I post it. And now I've been seen from their network as well because I'm interacting to it. I scroll down and I see this here from Celine. Okay, she's using an ad and I don't like that because I don't think that you should misuse LinkedIn for basically promotion. And I say, I don't want to see this. And I say like, okay, I'm not interested in this topic. Basically saying, okay, you know what, LinkedIn, I don't need to see that. Please, next time, don't show it to me. Then I see Oliver. I love what Oliver is posting here because he's talking about purpose of work. And I go down here and I see, I don't have to interact on that because it interests me. I see Sabrina. Okay, I don't interact on that. I say Timo. Okay, he has done something very great. I click on it. I see, okay, this is good. He has been on stage. I love this. Good stuff. And the first to comment on it, I say, what a great impression you made. All right. And that's it. And it haven't even needed like 2 minutes to do that. But now I'm present again. And that's the power. That's the power of LinkedIn. And let me just show you one last time that basically it doesn't matter how big your network is, because through interaction, with your interaction on your first level of contacts, the second level, the second degree of contacts, you will see that, as you've seen before when you scroll through the link. And there's only a third level of connection on LinkedIn in particular. This means that basically if you interact, if you comment, people will see you, people will notice you. You don't need a big network. Size doesn't matter here. Your network is your network, meaning be very careful in who you reach out and basically foster relationships. And you can basically do that also on your smartphone. If you have installed your app from LinkedIn on your smartphone, please do me a favor and open it up and go to the search bar at the top and click in the search bar. If you click in the search bar, and only if you click in the search bar on your LinkedIn app, you will see on the very right, there's a QR code showing up. It's very tiny, it's very small, but if you click on it, the right one will show up. So basically, if you go up here and you click on it, and then this screen will show up and it gives you a business card. It gives you your own business card on LinkedIn. It can, whenever you reach out to anybody, if you see somebody on a trade fair, on a networking event, if you see them for a nice rösti, or if you want to go for an apéro with them, you basically can interact and create a relation with them through your LinkedIn without handing out a business card. You can still hand out a business card, but this is your virtual business card. This is your LinkedIn business card, and you can use that. You can use that basically so people see you immediately. And hopefully they see that you're sharing some helpful content. And hopefully they see that you will basically interact with them. The first thing is you need to reach out, of course. You have to go to have some helpful content. Then this interaction leads to networking to conversation. It builds relationship, and relationship leads to success. But think of it in the long run, okay? Nowadays, even though a lot of people are out there on LinkedIn, they're still not using it at the moment that they should. And LinkedIn said that, okay, basically what you need to do is get to the people through the people you already trust. So build a network, build your network. And if you do that, do me one very last favor. If you reach out to people, whoever that may be it through the app where I just showed you with the QR code, or if you see somebody you want to interact with, basically if somebody is in the network, you want to basically connect with them, make sure that people understand why you are doing that. So for example, if I see Björn here and he's interacted quite some time with me and my content now, we have a lot of mutual connections. I always do the very same thing. I click on more, and instead of like just messaging here, right? I do connect and I add a note. You can always add a note when you connect with them. And I say, dear Björn, happy to be connected. I love what you shared today, right? So I'll translate that to German later on because Björn speaks German, but to just show you the effort, which is quite, not a lot, it's just like 10 seconds. But now what happens is basically, if I put that out, it will not be like this here, like Julian, because Julian, he just reached out to me today without any message. I don't know Julian. I don't know Mr. Kleinknecht. I don't know what he wants from me. I know that Jana, she wants to connect with me, which I appreciate. Thank you very much. That's a great example because she does it very, very great. She adds a note, so I know where she's coming from, and I will gladly accept it. But then, let me just show you, Jana, as a real life example here. I will use it and I will say, thanks, Jana. Happy to be connected. What are you working on now? And of course, I will personalize it on a later stage. But let me just show you that it's about building relationships, okay? So Jana, if you see this, I will reach out to you personally with another message, of course, but this is just for demonstration purposes because, again, you need to build a relationship. You need to build a relationship, and you can because it's quite easy. But as we see here again, there's a lot of people on the call, and please use this opportunity, use to reach out to the people in your network. And basically the only thing you need to understand is that it doesn't need a lot of time. It's 1 second, it's being helpful, it's being about repetition, it's about a content routine, it's about content creation, because digital and social, it is free, but it's not for nothing. And with that, I'm very happy to take your questions and show some more practical examples. Thank you very much for your digital attention so far.